Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. Today we are on a class trip. We're going on safari with Canon Explorer of Light, Adam Jones, using the Canon R5 Mark II. If you've never been to Africa, never been on a safari, it's okay. Adam has promised to take us there. I haven't been there, so I'm gonna have to live vicariously through you. Adam, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It is our pleasure to have you. I know you have a lot to get to, and we are going to be dropping some links throughout. If you would like to join Adam on a future adventure, we're going to drop some links for that. And I will remind you, as always, if you do have any questions at all, feel free to drop them into the YouTube chat. But Adam, the show is yours. I'll see you in a bit for the
Hey,
Q&A.
okay. So here we are. Just had the Canon R5 II for a couple weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And previously I was a Canon R5 owner, the original R5. Extremely happy with that camera. It was and still is an awesome camera. Just a couple examples of images shot with the original R5. This is a handheld shot with a 600mm lens with the R5, painted bunting in flight. Obviously, the focus is dead perfect. Did a great job. Another image, this time a 600 and a 1.4 teleconverter attached from a boat in Alaska on this coastal brown bear. So as you can see, perfect focus on the eyes. It's doing a great job. Extremely happy. Okay, the one thing, maybe the Achilles heel of the R5 in a sense is the rolling shutter. As you can see on this barn swallow, that the curvature of those wings is not completely natural. Some of it is, but some of that is from the rolling shutter. With the new R5 II, this has been virtually eliminated. There's still tiny, tiny little hints of it. Occasionally, with shooting a hummingbird, the wings are in a certain position, they may blur a bit funny, but with this latest update with the R5 II, that's virtually eliminated. So let's move on to our Africa trip. So one of the things that I was most excited about with the release of the new camera was the pre-continuous shooting, or pre-capture, as some other manufacturers call it. And here I have one of the iconic birds of Africa, the Serengeti, but we're not in the Serengeti, we're in the Kalahari. So this is a lilac-breasted roller sitting atop a branch, perched there. And previously, without the pre-continuous shooting, you were often late. Once the bird left the perch, you would hit the shutter button a little bit too late. With this new feature, you're virtually never too late. So here's the bird sitting there, getting ready to go, lifting the wings, taking off. And you can see that every single shot is perfectly in focus. All right, so as you can clearly see that in shooting at 30 frames per second, the bird didn't travel very far. And that doesn't sound like it's that much faster than 20 frames a second, but in reality it is. The bird only travels about a foot between each frame, and is about 2 feet to 3 feet on the previous camera. So I'm tickled with that. You hardly miss. You're never late pushing the button unless you're just totally asleep, because what happens is the camera is continuously recording up until you hit the shutter button. And once you hit the shutter button, it dumps everything else, but gives you 15 shots in front of where you actually pushed the shutter button. So you're never late at acquiring that bird jumping into action real quickly. So here's just a few other shots of some birds in flight using the pre-continuous shooting mode. I'll go through these relatively quickly, but again, you can see the focus is dead perfect. It's virtually the same as if the bird were sitting still. It's African jacana shot from a boat. Again, a different lilac-breasted roller. Head-on shots were mostly in focus as well. Every once in a while, you'll get a frame that's out of focus. Nothing hits it every time without fail, but I think this is doing an amazing job. Yellow-billed hornbill coming towards the camera as well. Obviously, you can tell it's extremely in focus. We can zoom in. I can pull that down. And you can see just how sharp that is. On this bird, it's a black bird, completely backlit. I couldn't even see the eye when I took this shot, was framing it up, and he takes off and the camera nails it perfectly. Very impressed. And again, with the pre-capture giving you those 15 additional shots, you can record things that you didn't even see happen. I didn't see this grasshopper. I was concentrating on the bird, getting it framed right, make sure the autofocus was on the eye. And then as I scroll back through them, I see that, oh yeah, there's a neat little moment in between the bill here with this grasshopper. Another red-billed hornbill just perched. He takes off and you've got it. Just amazing action shots. So I have my pre-continuous shooting set up on custom function 1, so I don't have it on all the time. So when I'm out there and I think something's going to take off, I quickly switch it over to custom setting 1. Then I'm ready to go at 4 thousandths of a second, f-stop wide open, and auto ISO. So needless to say, the flight shots have gotten a whole lot more consistently in focus. So this was actually the very first shot I took once I hit Kruger National Park in South Africa. This is shot at, what is this, 12,800 ISO at night, just illuminated with a flashlight. Could barely see this owl, and obviously the camera had no problem focusing on it in low light. So one of the things I really appreciate about the new camera is that it focuses on more animals' eyes more often, and they don't have to be turned sideways. Even when they're looking head on, it had very little to no trouble finding the eyeball. And one of the things I was doing was using the large zone box, or the square zone box, zone 1. And if I wanted a different eye, I could simply kick the zone left or right a click or two, and it would jump to the other eye. So I had almost immediate control of which eye or which subject. If I had 2 ducks on a lake, I could tell it quickly which duck to focus on. I was not up on the eye control at the time I went to Africa. Just didn't have time to experiment with it ahead of time. A group of female impala. Little black-faced vervet monkey. So there's a lot of scuttlebutt on the internet from these so-called influencers that talk about the dynamic range isn't what it used to be on the R5, and it's a little grainier. Well, I'm not seeing all that. In the real world, this camera performs amazing. This is at 10,000 ISO. And we can zoom in on that. Let's do it at 100%, that's 200. And you can see the image quality of that at 10,000 ISO. The sun is already down, and it's extremely flat, low light. But that's not enough. This is at 20,000 ISO. And look at the image quality from that. No grain in the background. Now, my favorite denoising software is DxO Lab 8. The latest version does a phenomenal job allowing us to shoot at crazy high ISOs that we never could before. Male ostrich in late afternoon light. This is something I was really excited to see in South Africa. This is in Kruger. And these are sable antelope. I had not witnessed these or seen these, photographed them in East Africa. So it's a nice new species for me. Nice grouping that stood there and posed for us for 10 or 15 minutes. Excuse me. We had these red-billed oxpeckers picking off parasites from the animals. Just trying to do something a little bit more artistic, not just a there it is shot of the antelopes. So we were out early every morning and out late every evening, and we had lots of colorful sunrises and sunsets to silhouette some trees. In all of these shots, every single one of these so far is handheld. Everything was relatively high ISO throughout the day. 1600 to 10, 12,000 ISO was pretty normal. This is the 600 with a 1.4 teleconverter handheld. The full moon at sunset, that one day a month where this all lines up, where the tree is not just a silhouette. So my primary lens throughout most of the trip was the Canon 100 to 500, the RF 100 to 500. It's a super sharp lens, performs great. It's not too heavy for hand holding for long periods of time. And then I had the alternated the R5 and the R5ii on the 600 with a 1.4 teleconverter most of the time. It's another red-billed oxpecker doing his thing. Close up on this buffalo. Again, picking around, pulling the parasites off. Great looking bird on an ominous looking buffalo. Two beautiful starlings. Look a lot better than our European starling that we have here in the United States. So beautiful birds. We encountered quite a few birds on our trip. And this is, again, shot with a 600 and a 1.4 teleconverter. 1600 ISO. Male impala. One thing I'll say about Southern Africa versus East Africa is there's a lot more brush, a lot less open images to be had. Beautiful interaction with a lot of animals, great action. So I felt like I kind of had to zoom in on some tighter portraits because there was often just brushy this or that, sticks, branches, brush in front of the animal. So I, isolated as best I could with the longer lens. Again, this is a 600 with a 1.4 teleconverter. This hyena was shot at 8,000 ISO with the handheld with 100 to 500 after the sun had set. This was really into that twilight period. As you can see, perfectly sharp, no noise, great dynamic range. Everything's there that you would want. This curious giraffe. Eyelashes are just tack sharp. Again, the newer camera, the R5ii, will hit these eyeballs far better than the original R5 when the animal's looking head on and the eye's not quite as obvious. So again, this is the 600 with a 1.4 teleconverter. You can see the sharpness, the detail is just incredible. It's a petalure eagle. I will admit I replaced the sky on this one. Just had a gray, white sky and it just wasn't cutting it. So I did replace the sky on this one. There's a hoopoe perched. Just one of the neat birds from Africa that you don't see all the time, but a great bird to capture. So in Southern Africa, we were in Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa. Elephants galore. I've never seen so many elephants in my life. I think Botswana has 130,000 elephants in the country, and they are decimating the trees everywhere. It's just amazing how they've torn up the forest. But they were everywhere in these female groups, taking care of the youngsters. Here's two greeting each other rather affectionately. It was really an interesting moment to witness. This is at 3200 ISO, handheld with 100 to 500. One of the things I like to do is capture the big scene, the whole animal and its environment. Then I start zooming in, picking out parts and pieces to photograph. And I do the same exact thing with landscapes. I'll shoot the big mountain scene. I just got back from Colorado, shoot the whole mountain range and aspens in the foreground. Then I start picking it apart and doing tighter shots. And I do exactly the same thing with my animals. Obviously, an elephant eyeball up close with gigantic eyelashes. Just beautiful. Nice giraffe. You see how shrubby and brushy everything is. So again, a little bit difficult to get things out in the open like you would always like. Seemed like there's always brush somewhere, but again, great animal action. This is one of the good dirt roads we were on, looking back at the sun. We just happened to look behind us, and it's our own dust that we kicked up. And this image was opened up quite a bit in the shadows in post-processing, and there's absolutely no noise, opened up beautiful. Dynamic range is completely usable and completely satisfying. I love great light. On this olive baboon, obviously backlit with the rim lighting up the fur. This was early in the morning, just a great situation. These guys were jumping all around, fighting, playing, chasing one another, lots of activity. Little youngster on the tree as the grandpa sits over in the grass, doing his thing. The little family unit here grooming one another. Again, backlit. I like the one looking back over his shoulder at us. We saw at one time we had 8 rhinos in our in a close family group, I guess, and they've all been dehorned in their to aid in the poachers not killing them for their horns, and they're semi-growing back. They don't have the big pointed horn like you'd like to see. But again, shoot the whole animal in its environment and then zooming in with a longer lens on the eyeball and the face. Beautiful male kudu and great light in the afternoon, just posing for our cameras. And this is one of the species that we really, really wanted. South Africa is known for their leopards and their accessibility, and we were not disappointed. This old boy was shot again very, very late, once the sun's down or right at the horizon. So you can tell that it's pretty soft light, so no direct sunlight. Walking right by our vehicle up close. This is shot at 6400 ISO, f7.1 wide open with the 100 to 500, and you can see the quality there. Buffalo again with the oxpecker on his nose. Kudu, I'm sorry, waterbuck, female waterbuck. And again, the R5, the original, would have no problem focusing on that eye. But when they turn this way, it sometimes did. And the new R5ii just hung right on that eyeball. I was just completely blown away by how much better it was. So the advantage of the R5ii over the R5.1 is better autofocus, better rolling shutter, faster capture rates. And one of the other, I'll get to that later. I'll comment on something else later. There's a giraffe drinking. Family herd leaving the water hole with a reflection. These guys were all necking and flopping all around, and it was hard to get a good composition out of this. There's a male impala with 2 females and our 2 younger males and their reflection. It looks like our great blue heron, but it's a gray-headed heron in Africa, they call it. And I had the pre-capture going on this got the moment that he struck into the water, but unfortunately, when he struck, he went behind that log that you see to the right, so his head disappeared. Oh, excuse me. And zebra. One thing about Southern Africa, you do not see the number of zebras that you see in Kenya or Tanzania. You see them by the thousands there. We saw zebras, but not in the kind of numbers and accessibility that you see in East Africa. Little bush buck. This was actually shot right in the camp as I was walking down for lunch back to the dining area. This little guy was just lying in the leaves right off the path. So handheld shot, quick grab shot. Beautiful leopard, late afternoon light, looking right at the camera. Again, we were rewarded. We were really excited about our leopard encounters, and we were not disappointed. We were following this leopard for quite some time through crazy brush, just running over all kinds of obstacles to stay with this cat. And he accidentally spooked up this steenbok, and it didn't try to flee until the cat was about 5 feet from it. And unfortunately for him or her, didn't make it. But it was a great moment for our cameras. Again, shot very late in the day, the last light of the day. Kind of gruesome, but this is the wild. Big old male, black maned male lion with his pride. A couple little cubs in the background. This old boy gave us about 5 seconds once we rolled up there before he laid back down and didn't raise his head again. So sometimes you got to really get ready quick and shoot. It looks like a sleepy little scene, and literally 5 seconds later it was, and that's all we got. Little cub coming down off of a tall termite mound. Cub late in late light. These little guys were very animated, playing around, wrestling, and nursing with mom and playing with one another. Great subject matter. Mom up on the hill, keeping on the termite mound, keeping an eye on everybody. Oh, little guy here getting an attitude adjustment. He's getting a little too rowdy for mom's taste, and she let him know. Sometimes a good swat from mom straightens out the bad behavior. Then we had a real brief encounter with the wild dogs. These guys were on the move, never stopped trotting the whole time we were trying to keep up with them. So this was a quick passing shot as they ran by our vehicle. Big giraffe and his surroundings. I always try to get their head above the horizon line. I wish that was up a little higher, but that's all we could do from our vantage point. Little mouse bird that shot right in the camp. Big, nasty looking crocodile. This guy's probably 16 feet long. We saw him lying on the bank of this body of water, and then he got spooked and crawled into the water, and all you can see is his head, but he's a big boy. It's a Goliath heron. Again, late light in the afternoon. And here we have a pair of leopards, which is really unusual to see. About the only time you'll see two leopards together is when they are mating. The male's lying down and the female is approaching him. And unlike the lions, the leopard female is the pursuer in this scenario. She goes after him, throws herself in front of him, rolls all around, and then they will commence mating. And it happens extremely quickly and fairly often. So here's the male leopard pulling away after mating with the female on the ground, and it looks painful for both of them. but it's a great action shot. Again, the very last light of the day. Here's the old boy taking a break between mating situations. Little lion cub was just playing with this stick, carrying it all around. I kind of wish he hadn't had it. I think it would be a cleaner shot without it, but it is what it is when you're in the wild. Nice bird up close. Again, you can see all the detail. It's red-billed hornbill, shot with the R5ii. And you can see the incredible detail, 45 megapixels. This was shot at 2500 ISO. So I've always gone for a little bit higher megapixel cameras. I've like the original R5, the R5ii being 45 megapixels versus the top end Pro model, which is 24, 25 megapixels. I like to have the ability to crop a little bit if necessary and have the higher resolution versus more speed. That's my take, and some people might disagree with that, but that's the way I like to do it. Common waterbuck along the shoreline. Nice African male walking down the road, just taking his time, walking right into the sunset. We encountered a lot of hippos in different bodies of water. Again, elephants everywhere. This is just an extremely quick grab shot, just whipped the 100 to 500 up and shot, and the autofocus did it all. It's dead on the eyeball. It's just perfect. Nice portrait, backlit portrait, this beautiful male specimen. He cooperated perfectly for us. This is, again, the very last light of the day as the sun was dipping below the horizon. Babies and mother elephants just almost at daily basis running into these guys. Up close and personal, a big old hippopotamus. This is 840 millimeters, 600 with a 1.4. Again, this big lion walking right into the sunset light for us. Couldn't be better. Leopard, this one we started following while it was still dusky in the morning. It was way too dark to shoot. We could barely see this leopard when we first encountered it, but we stayed with it for probably an hour, hour and a half, and were rewarded with some great opportunities. Again, I like to shoot the entire animal in its environment when the environment is adds something to the photo. If not, I'll shoot with a longer lens and just isolate the subject and blur out the background. Just do the details. Beautiful waterbuck, the last light, spectacular color. And this is a sunset at one of our places where we had our sundowner drinks at the end of the day. And this is a handheld sunset, and I did the auto bracketing so I could merge the exposure brackets together in Photoshop. And the new camera, the R5ii, shoots those 5 shots so fast that there's very little movement between each shot, even though you're hand holding it. They line up very easily in software. It's amazing how fast it shoots the 5 shots. Again, these are shot now. The sun's below the horizon, so this is actually low ISO at 400th of a second. f4. Wide angle lens. Panoramic stitch. Again, handheld, just shooting vertically. camera oriented vertically and swinging from left to right and merging in a pano and an HDR. Beautiful sunsets. This is a sunrise out of our camp in Zimbabwe, handheld with the 500mm lens. We took a little canoe ride on this body of water and got some great reflections and reeds and birds along the shoreline, some water bucks. It was a pretty neat experience to be at eye level on the water. Nice water lily. Other bird life. Egyptian goose in flight. Coming right at the camera. Camera had no problem keeping up. The Egyptian goose landing, coming right towards the camera again. Eyeballs dead perfect in focus. Female elephant family. We shot from a blind, permanent blind at one of the camps, and we had a variety of animals show up. This male impala. Mom and baby elephant at sunset up on the ridge. Little stilt at sunset. This gray-headed heron coming right at the camera, backlit at sunset. Again, focus is dead perfect. Sometimes it's almost getting too easy. The stilt again at sunset. Love the graphic shapes of this. More about the silhouette and the shape than actually a record shot of the bird. So for silhouettes, you can pretty much just aim the camera at the overall scene, and it's going to underexpose and give you a silhouette. Egyptian goose coming in again. We saw a pride of lions decide to chase this big male kudu at a watering hole. They started a little bit too far away and really didn't have much of a chance to catch this guy. He was off and running and gone. But it was neat to see the whole pride jump up and take off in action. Elephants at a watering hole. Hippo at sunset. This cheetah family posed for us underneath the trees. Tough to get. The light was a little bit, was backlit for the most part, so I had to open up the shadows quite a bit. But you can see it works. And, yeah, this was shot at 1200mm. 600 with a 2x teleconverter, and you can definitely see the quality of that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Publishable anywhere. The rhino with these red-billed oxpeckers on his back. 2 of them. 2 rhino. Again, the elephant eyeball with the big eyelashes. Zebra with the oxpecker working his ear over. This interaction between the bird and the mammals was really interesting to watch. The animals, for the most part, would tolerate this. Sometimes when he went up their nose or in their ear, they would flap around a little bit and scare the bird out. Crested barbet standing on elephant dung, which was everywhere. Leopard, and again, the last light. They seem to be the most active really, really early in the morning or very, very late in the afternoon. Pretty typical of wildlife. Mom and her cub. Couple cubs wrestling and playing, honing their skills. You can see the claws these little guys already have. Just love the late light. Just amazing side light. The color's wonderful. And one day we were just driving along and there was all this haze and it almost looked like fog. So just did a quick grab shot as the vehicle was rumbling along. Kind of, yeah, it's probably the only landscape that I shot in this park. Again, using the pre-capture, you can get these guys taking off every time. It's just stunning how you don't miss. Having a little family squabble here on the back of a rhino. Beautiful male ostrich out in the open, no brush, nice background. So to me, it's always subject, lighting, and background. The three things you got to have for any successful photograph. These wildebeest were chasing each other around out in the meadow or the plains. And these guys were watching. And again, using the big zone box, I could key in on whichever wildebeest or set of eyeballs that I wanted to focus on very quickly using the joystick to move that around. I'm going to experiment with the eye control now that I have more time to dial it in the way I want. So that may be something I'll be doing in the future, is using more eye control. A pair of Egyptian geese on the Zambezi River from a larger boat. African Harrier, first time I've seen one of these guys. So happy to add that to my collection. Hippos in the Zambezi. I love the gold water reflection against the blue water reflection. And that gold is a sandy, steep hillside or shoreline behind these guys. That afternoon light is picking up that reflection and the colors, and I like the warm and the cold or the cool colors merging together. Again, just a silhouette of this egret in a tree, just docking the boat. Here we are at Victoria Falls, and we're there in the dry season, so the waterfall's not running like it could be, but still a beautiful sight, just one of the wonders of the world, and tickled to have an opportunity to photograph it. And everything in my entire program was handheld except these. A couple shots here where I'm trying to do a slow shutter speed to let the water move. So I'm using a monopod, bracing it as steady as I dare go slowly. So I'm not shooting super slow, but slow enough to blur the water a little bit. Telephoto shots again, shoot the wide shot, get the sort of overall scene, zoom in and take pieces and parts of the overall composition to do something else interesting. Now I'm down and zoomed in at 250 millimeters on the lower section of the falls. And I actually think, for my taste, that's the prettiest shot. Then we took a helicopter ride, having to shoot through the window. So the doors were not off. So could be a little bit better, but not too bad for shooting through a plexiglass window. Quite curved window at that. But it was neat to see this from above. It's just a group of little trees, and I love the diagonal shadows coming through this image. This was as we were taking off to go out to shoot the waterfall. Just saw this little pattern on the ground. And the window on the helicopter was bowed out like a fishbowl, so you could shoot down without going at a crazy steep angle through the glass. So it worked out pretty well. Two cheetah brothers. There was actually a group of three. People often ask, how close can you get on safari? And this is how close you can get and even closer. We had the male leopard walk up 4 feet from the vehicle and just look you right in the eye, and you're sitting there with no doors, no windows, kind of hanging out in the open. And it's not scary, but it does get your attention. These cheetahs didn't give a hoot about us being there. You can see people using their big lenses to zoom in. Obviously, I think they're on the wrong side of this cheetah, but so be it. Here they are from the other angle, a different, few minutes later, they stood up. Then they're back down. Pair of warthogs. And what's funny about this is every time we would try to slow the vehicle down to take a warthog out in the park, they would almost inevitably run from the vehicle with their little tail sticking straight up. This is shot during lunch at the camp. There was a watering hole off to the right, and these guys just came in and started munching on the green grass and provided us a great opportunity to get some tight shots on the warthogs. And I think finally, I think this is the last image. The stars at night in Southern Africa were amazing. Obviously, the Milky Way. This was shot at 3200, 24 millimeter lens, f2.8 at what, 20 seconds. So that was our last shot, and hope everyone enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, please reach out. My email is adam@adamjonesphoto.com. And if you'd like to join me on a trip to Antarctica, South Georgia, and the Falklands in January, please reach out and let me know. Thank you very much.
Adam, thank you. We're going to open it up to our audience for some Q&A. We did already have some questions filtering in, so
all right,
we'll start it there. Mike was
okay.
interested in the abilities of that tracking on the autofocus, wondering explicitly in low light and high ISO, how was that functioning for you?
I did well. You saw the picture of the owl that was done with just a spotlight. We also filmed some honey badgers at night right in the camp, and it focuses. I mean, it's not always perfect. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke at you. Nothing is perfect, but it does extremely well. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking at it, and those images are sharp. I don't know. You hit a certain point where it's like, you don't want to get any sharper than that.
No,
It looks
I
natural.
totally agree.
You get into like this clinical sharpness where no,
yeah, the guys online are pixel peeping, and they just got to have something to talk about noise, or the dynamic range is a hair less is what I keep hearing. I'm not seeing it in the real world. It's crazy good. And I don't just make a quick plug, and I'm not associated in any way with DxO, but all of these images have gone through DxO Lab 8, and it does a phenomenal job of getting rid of the noise without losing any of the sharpness and not putting any artifacts in the smooth out of focus backgrounds like so many of these other programs that we all know the names, that they create problems in the backgrounds.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the things that, it's at the point now where the software is so good. I find myself going back and forth, before and after, before and after, before and after. I'm like, did I make it better or did I make it worse? Did I introduce stuff that wasn't there? Or sometimes I think with some of the software out there, it gives it like an AI look to it where it takes away from that natural. I think I'd rather have the flaws and some of the natural artifacts than something
Right.
that looks like a smoothed over AI version.
Right. And all of the programs get rid of the noise. That's not the problem. Any of them can get rid of the noise, but then they make them too smooth. They look like plastic. You
Yeah.
lose that organic look. And DxO, again, I'm not associated with them, does not do that. They do a phenomenal job. And I just came back from Colorado the night before last doing a scenic shoot. And I shot almost all of my landscapes, the more telephoto landscapes where I'm isolating, at 1600, 2000 ISO, simply to keep the leaves on the trees from moving off in the distance. I've learned my lesson shooting at 100 ISO, thinking, oh yeah, the best, greatest quality. but the images are blurry because at 15th, quarter, eighth of a second, the leaves are moving. Where at 1600, 2000 ISO, they're dead sharp, and DxO brings out all of that detail. It's just stunning.
I gotta go to that topic, Adam, because you've been around the block a couple times, right? You've educated a few people here and there.
Absolutely.
Is it? I feel like we've reached a point where when I teach people now, it's like you have to unteach these years and years of like, people are just going automatically to the lowest ISO. They don't know why.
Right.
It's like this information's out there. And I was, just curious and I'm over here. It's funny. I'm looking at your image and I'm like squinting my eyes to see the EXIF data on there. And I'm like, there's a lot of these images that you're showing that if you don't look at the EXIF data, people are going to think, okay, he's at ISO 400 max. And no, you're at ISO 1600. You're at ISO 3200. We
Exactly.
talk a little bit about the capability of today's cameras. And I think you brought up a great point. The low ISO doesn't matter if you're getting that unintended motion blur in a shot.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Where,
go ahead.
yeah, where are you usually at? Where did you find most of your images falling? I mean, especially when you get later in the day, and with what a lot of people don't realize is when you're using a super telephoto lens, you're inherently getting less light and you're zooming in on a scene and you're not soaking in all that light that you do on a wide angle. So where does your ISO usually fall for a
I
lot
would
of these images?
say the ISO typically falls between 1600. If I had to just pick an ISO to roll out a camp, that's where I would start. 1600 ISO and up to 6400, 8000. I don't even give it a second thought. Just go for it. Quit worrying about it. It's quit pixel peeping to the nth degree. These images will blow up to 40 by 60 spectacularly. I've done it. I have them hanging in my office now. Quit listening to the talking heads on TV or on YouTube that tell you, oh, it's not this. Oh, should I upgrade or should I not? I will say my point, whether to upgrade from the R5, the R5 II, would be if you are primarily a wildlife photographer, go for it. Don't even think about it. Run to it. Get it. If you're basically a landscape, macro, flower photographer, you're probably not going to benefit from the additional capabilities.
There you go. You heard it
Just a
here first.
tool. It's what do you need to do with it?
Yeah, well, and a lot of it that experience. I mean, I'm looking at even those first couple images, the burst mode shots of the birds, and it's like it's a lot of that is experience coming through because you can have all the technology in the world, you can have a fast frame rate, a fast shutter speed, and there's that knowledge of knowing the mannerisms and of doing your research in advance. And I'm not going to get that many. That bird is probably going to leave the frame. I'm getting one, and then I might get a clip of the tail at the end.
Right. Well, pre-continuous shooting, I had a lot of tails going out. But obviously I tracked the bird once he took off. But you're right. Being an experienced wildlife person, I recognize the cues that the bird is giving off, or the animal is about to run, jump, fly, whatever it's going to do. So I am anticipating that somewhat. But the pre-continuous shooting certainly gives you a little cushion if you're a millisecond or two late.
Definitely. We had a question come in on the second waterfall image. Mike is asking if was the second waterfall image first zoomed in, handheld, monopod, or tripod?
Oh, can I back through this?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
go
see
for it.
here. What do we got? So, second image. That was a monopod.
Okay.
Let's see. That was 1/6 of a second at 109 millimeters, ISO 100. So
Okay.
I'm at the low ISO here, not for image quality, but for slowness of the shutter speed to get the motion in the water.
Okay. Adam, can you give us a general, just a brief overview? How much gear as far as bodies, lenses, accessories? Are you bringing neutral density filters out? Are you bringing, monopod, tripod? What is a normal for a safari like this? How much gear?
Okay, for the Safari, I shot 99.9% on two lenses and probably 80% on the 100 to 500 on the R5 II. I only had that was a loaner that I took to Africa, because the camera wasn't even out yet when we were there, or came out while we were there. So I had one R5 II on the 100 to 500, had my R5 on the 600 with a 1.4 traditionally on there, and would swap them around when time permitted. But if it was happening quick, I just grabbed and shot with the R5. So for an Africa trip, 600, 1.4 teleconverter, 2X teleconverter, 100 to 500, and also have a teleconverter for that, 24 to 70, and that was it for that
Okay.
trip. 2 bodies and 3 lenses.
Not too bad.
No, I try to travel reasonably light, and that's heavy enough when you're packing that on your back and you got a laptop in there, and it's plenty of gear. I know some people travel with 5 times that amount of gear, and I've never had a disaster, never had anything, quit working on site, thank goodness. So I travel a little bit lighter. Now, I
Have you
just
ever
in Colorado a couple of days ago, I took a 10 to 20 and a 16 to 35 wide angle, but I didn't take the 600. I just took the 100 to 500. And
have
that's
you
my
ever had was there ever a moment where it was, I should have brought this lens? Or is there like a common range where you're like, because for me it's always telephoto. For me it's always, you know what, I'll be fine with it with a 35. And then I get
right.
out there and I'm like, man, I should have brought a zoom. Should have brought a
I
telephoto.
I never leave home without the 100 to 500. It's my favorite lens by far, because I like to isolate things, pluck things out of the. I probably shot more telephoto landscapes in Colorado than I did wide angle landscapes. To me,
Interesting.
there's just not enough big views that are worthy at the right time, and everything's happening and the foreground's great. Because wide angle, you got to have a foreground, middle ground, background. And with the longer lens, you can certainly pluck more intimate pieces out of the overall landscape.
I think Adam just figured out why all my travel photos have sucked. It's like you get that one shot and then you're like, okay, well, I can't do much more with this wide angle lens. You're right. You lose the ability to have that foreground, middle ground, background, and you get one scene and that's it. It's like you take
Right.
that one scene and what are you going to do from there? So,
And everybody sees that scene. Everybody can
yeah.
sit on the overlook and go, oh yeah, there's the mountains, there's the lake or the river, whatever it is. But they don't see the rest of it. And this was a private workshop with 14 ladies that I just came back with. And that was the hardest, I will say hard, everybody could see the big overlook scenes, but it was getting them to switch over to a longer lens and dissect the bigger view, took a little encouragement.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you find that more people, I mean, I guess it's easier to see that wide view. It's a lot harder, obviously, to narrow in on something and pick out the shot.
I guess so. I honestly think I see it the other way. Is the wide angle to me is so messy, because the
Hmm.
foreground has to be something interesting, because you're going to have a lot of it with a wide angle lens. So to me, it's harder to compose with, because I can't isolate just what I want easily. I love wide angles in the right situation, but it's got to be the right situation.
See, this is why I love that we bring the best in the industry on because it's easy. I don't have to put up a fight, an argument. I just say, all right, what Adam says, there we go. It helps guide us. You guys are here. It's like to shepherd us through because there's a lot of bad habits out there, and there's a lot of things that we don't experience these things. That's why it's great to have people like you on, Adam, who have
Thank
done it.
you.
You've put in the years of work, and now I can go out and I could say, okay, maybe I leave the wide angle home next time. Maybe I bring the telephoto in, and I got to work a little bit more and find my shots.
Yeah. Well, hey, we got to go shooting someday.
There we go. I think I could learn a thing or 3,000 from you.
No, well, likewise, I can learn from anyone. I learn from my students.
I
So
love it.
good.
I love it. Well, Adam, we got two more parts of these coming up. So
Sure.
I want to thank you again. It was a pleasure having you on. Beautiful, beautiful images, and
Thank
there
you.
is going to be more to come. I will remind everybody that we did drop a link in there if you guys would like to join Adam on one of his future trips. We have South Georgia, Falkland Islands, and Antarctica. Beautiful places. What's the top place on your list, Adam?
Actually, it is Antarctica. That I have not been there. I've been to the Falklands, but not been to Antarctica, and I want to do that as on my bucket list. Tick that one off.
Awesome.
So can't wait.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to it. We'll have to touch base with you after that and drag you back here to see
Absolutely.
what we can learn
Anytime.
from that. I love it.
Anytime.
I love it.
Thanks,
Well,
Derek.
thank you, Adam. Huge,
Okay.
huge thank you again to Adam for joining us today and to all of our viewers out there. We do it all for you guys. Free education here at the B&H Event Space. There you go. We got our faces back up on the screen. We did
All
drop
right.
some links in there, so we hope you check out Adam's work and check out the safaris and all the other trips that he does have going on. It's all bucket list material, and as you've seen here, you're going to learn a lot. So, Adam, huge thank you. We will
Thank
see you
you.
next
Okay,
time we have
Derek.
you on. That is it. Another edition of the B&H Event Space now in the books. Catch you next time.